on the truce proposal. At least 3 people have been killed and 8 others have been wounded in a Russian missile strike on the east-central Ukrainian city of Dnipro. The governor has said that emergency crews are working to put out fires and search the rubble for anyone who may still be trapped. Labour MP and former Minister Tulip Siddiq has been sentenced to 2 years in prison in Bangladesh. This comes as she was put on trial in her absence alongside 16 other people over corruption allegations. US President Donald Trump confirms reports of the telephonic conversation with Venezuelan leader Maduro. However, Trump did not reveal further details. This call comes amid escalating tension between both the countries. Venezuelan leader accuses United States of wanting to take over its oil resources. Venezuela has also asked OPEC Plus to show solidarity in the face of what it considers an escalation that could endanger Venezuela oil production. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has dismissed US President Donald Trump's threat to exclude Pretoria from next year's G20 summit, reaffirming South Africa's status as a founding member of the group. And viewers, let's move on to the top focus here at NewsX Eurozone. In the latest development, the Kremlin says it will not engage in what it calls megaphone diplomacy regarding US talks on Ukraine. A Kremlin spokesperson made the comment, adding that President Vladimir Putin is scheduled to meet US President-elect Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff tomorrow. Now, meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says a meeting with Ukrainian officials in Florida was very productive, but cautioned that work remains to be done to end Russia's war in Ukraine. He added that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will travel to Moscow later this week and said the U.S. has been in contact with Russian officials to understand their position. Let's listen in to what was said.
We had another very productive session, building off Geneva, building off the events of this week. As I told you earlier this morning, our goal here is to end the war, but it's more than just to end the war. We don't just want to end the war, we also want to help Ukraine be safe forever, so never again will they face another invasion. And, equally importantly, we want them to enter an age of true prosperity.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump says peace discussions involving the U.S., Ukraine and Russia are going along well. He said the goal is to stop the ongoing loss of life in the more than 3.5-year-long war, adding that he believes a lot of souls could be saved. Let's listen in to what Trump said.
Can you give us an update on what took place in South Florida today, those talks between the U.S. and the Ukrainians?
Well, they're going along, and they're going along well. We want to stop people from being killed. Doesn't have much to do with us, but I'd like to see if we can save a lot of souls. A lot of people are being killed. Last month, we had 27,000 people killed in that ridiculous war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president.
Have you spoken with Rubio and Witkoff since
I have, yeah. I've spoken to them, and they're doing well. Ukraine's got some difficult little problems. They have some difficult problems, but I think Russia would like to see it end, and I know Ukraine would like to see it end.
The 28-point Ukraine peace plan limits Ukraine's military, closes NATO membership, and makes Western security guarantees conditional and unclear. Territorial negotiations favor Russia, with Crimea effectively recognized as Russian, Donetsk and Luhansk under Russian control, and Odessa left as a gray zone for future discussion. Europe is largely excluded from the post-war architecture, leaving the US and Russia to shape the outcome. Let's now welcome Gilbert Doctorow, Russian affairs expert, into the discussion here. He joins us live from Brussels. Thank you, Mr. Doctorow, for joining us and taking time out to speak to us here at NewsX World. Now, some crucial statements coming in, also one from Kaha Kallis, who says the week is pivotal. Do we finally see momentum gaining ground?
It is possible that some momentum is gaining ground. in the very fact that Rubio has acknowledged that there are difficulties already is an improvement on where we heard him 1 week ago. Difficulties that should indeed remain because the positions are irreconcilable, as most recently reported. That is the positions between the Ukrainians and the Russian negotiating teams. So there's a lot of work to be done. The question is how much Ukraine will cede, whether or not they will effectively admit defeat, or whether they persist in believing that the Russians can be pushed back.
But what's your reading? Talks were held with Ukraine yesterday of US and Ukraine delegations were meeting yesterday. Tomorrow, Witkoff will meet Putin in Moscow. Is a deal likely soon?
No, it's just as a matter of international scheduling. Mr. Putin will be meeting with Rubio, I suppose, with Witkoff tomorrow, and that is the last chance this week to do something, because to my knowledge, he's coming to India on Wednesday for a state visit. So the state of the condition of negotiations will be in suspense while he is on that state visit.
All right. Well, to stay on with us, Mr. Doctor, let's give our viewers some more details. Now, the European Union's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, says that this could be a crucial week in the push to end the war in Ukraine. Her comments come as the U.S. representatives head to Moscow after holding talks with the Ukraine's negotiators in Washington. Speaking at a meeting of European Union defense ministers in Brussels, Kallas called it a pivotal week for diplomacy. She said that the discussions in America were difficult but productive, but the outcome is still unclear. Kallas added that she will speak today with the Ukraine's defense and foreign ministers as efforts intensify to move the peace process forward. Let's in fact show you what the European Union Chief of Diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, said.
Russia does not want peace, and therefore we need to make Ukraine as stronger as possible in order to them to be ready to stand up for themselves in this very, very difficult time. It could be a pivotal week for diplomacy. We heard yesterday that the talks in America were difficult but productive. We don't know the results yet, but I will talk to the defense minister of Ukraine and as well as foreign minister of Ukraine today.
Let's bring back Gilbert Doctor into the discussion here. Gilbert, do you think that the European Union will achieve what it seeks from the peace talks and reinforce Ukraine's defense?
What the European Union, as represented by the Commission, which Kallas is a vice president, being in charge of defense and diplomacy, Kallas is doing everything possible to prevent a peace. But she's speaking about diplomacy, but I think the real issue going on between herself and others in the Commission is to see if they can finally get their hands on the 185 billion euros of Russian frozen assets. That is still their main concern. And I'd say they have very nice backing today in the editorial position of the Financial Times, which calls precisely for this Ursula von der Leyen scheme of reparations loan that is collateralized by the Russian frozen assets to proceed. Now, the latest trick is they hope to remove the Russian assets from Belgium's Euroclear and put those assets in a yet unidentified European member state, where the state is willing to incur the risks of Russia's retaliation, and that Belgium is not willing to accept.
Now, a crucial statement is also coming from her. Apart from this going to be a pivotal week, she's also said that it's clear that Russia does not want peace, and therefore we need to make Ukraine as strong as possible. With her giving out this statement, do you think it's viable and even possible for the European Union to use the frozen assets when she herself exceeds that Russia does not want peace? How does she expect Russia to be okay with the European Union using frozen sovereign assets of Russia?
Well, you're touching on the key aspect. The Belgian Prime Minister De Wever last week in a 4-page letter to Ursula von der Leyen set out not only the question of risk of the Russians winning a lawsuit against Belgium in the future and ruining his country, but also a second issue, and that is that the use or misuse of Russian frozen assets to support Ukraine's war efforts for the coming 2 years is to go against Mr. Trump's efforts at peace. Now that is a very touchy subject, of course, and as for von der Leyen and Kallas, they are willing to take any risk whatsoever to ensure that Ukraine remains viable. There is an additional factor here that bears mention. That is, Mr. Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, is making sounds to the effect that Germany will, by itself, substantially raise its financial contributions to Ukraine for 2026, and that could be a big help, a bridging help in the next few weeks. But that this week particularly is a pivotal point. I don't see the logic of Kallas' statement.
All right. Well, do stay on with us, Gilbert. There's some more information coming in. Now, at least 3 people have been killed and 8 others wounded in a Russian